Hi, and welcome back to Plastic Models by a Regular Dude, and part 11 of the Trumpeter 1/35th scale Tiger 1 Late project. In part 10, I started with weathering, stuff like that. I did a pin wash, then kind of an overall filter type wash. Then I sealed it up with a clear, and before I put the running gear on, I used my two dark dirt and light dirt ultimate weathering wash clay washes on the lower part of the hull, including down into here, just to get it started with weathering. Did the bottom part so I could put the running gear on. So I painted the tracks, weathered those up, and basically got everything ready to roll. No pun intended. So next up, I'm going to start doing a little bit more weathering. So let me get my stuff out and ready to go, and I'll discuss what I'm going to do. All right, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to use this dark dirt, and I am going to use my favorite clay wash brush, which is this. It's a number 6, the Fine Touch round. I think I got it at Hobby Lobby, and it works pretty good for this kind of stuff because it's been pretty durable, and it allows you to get fine or coarse type application. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to use it and just put in along edges and in corners and stuff like that. Something I want to kind of shadow up a little bit all over. And then what I'm going to do is I am going to work on it with a dry brush to kind of get it to diffuse a little bit. So I'm going to start doing this over the whole hull here, then let it dry, and then come back with that dry brush. All right, next I'm going to take a wet Q-tip slash cotton swab slash earbud for people across the waters, and I'm going to start wiping off some of the excess like this. And what it'll do is it'll leave it deposited in the edges, stuff like that, and help blend it into the surrounding area. If I'm doing on vertical surfaces, I'll try and go with the flow of runoff like that. Whoops. Just be careful not to hang it up on details and break them off or leave big pieces of cotton string. So I'm just going to do that. Everywhere where I did this, just to help blend it in, soften the edge a little bit, but leave it stained looking. All right, now that the dark dirt has dried and I've got that rubbed off, the amount that I want rubbed off, I'm now switching to the light dirt, and basically just going to do deposits in corners. And such. And I found you don't have to be quite as careful with the light dirt because it doesn't seem to stain as much as the dark dirt does. So I'm just going to do a little bit of that. I'm also going to put some on here a little heavier because I want the details in these tracks, the joints and all that stuff, to kind of be filled with dust. So I'm going to put a little heavier on there, like that. So I'm going to continue on doing this with the old time lapse and then come back and scrub off what I don't want. Alright, now that all this is dried, I'm going to use a stiff brush and start, for all intents and purposes, blending. And basically, it's scrubbing off the top layer and kind of softening the edges. And this is a number 4 artist. Let's see. No, it's not Artist Touch. I don't know what that says. Anyway, some kind of round brush. It's got stiff white bristles. And basically just softening the edges, getting the surface layer off, leaving it deposited in the details on these tracks. And just working it in just to further break up the monotony of the paint. So I'm going to go ahead and finish that up on time lapse again. See how it turns out. Alright, now with that done on the hull, I am going to move on to the turret. So since you've seen me do this, I'm not going to do this on camera, so I'm going to do this off camera, and then I'll come back and talk a little bit more about what's next. Alright, the next thing I want to do is a bit of chipping on some of the wear spots, like on this tool here, around the edge where the shovel might be put into place, around the towing eyes, on the toe clevises, just stuff like that. Sheet metal stuff like the tool or the stowage bin. Just not a whole lot, just enough to break up some of those parts a little bit and add a little bit of wear. And then I need to paint the metal portion of the cleaning rods here and here. The ends of them were metal and they threaded together, so I need to do that before I forget. So let me get out. I'm going to use, for the chipping color, I'm going to use this Fully Hill Model Air Panzer Dark Gray. And one of these little small brushes. Like this one here. It's a 0 with a good point on it. All right, next I am going to do a little bit of oil stains, fuel stains, whatever. For that, I'm going to use my 502 Abteilung engine grease and a little bit of odorless mineral spirits. Okay, so I've got some of this stuff mixed up. I've got a real thick batch and a thin batch, and I'm just gonna pepper some around here, just make some oily spots. And then I'll probably tone them down a little bit with a little bit of dust or something, just so they aren't so quite so, just so they aren't quite so stark as I fumble about trying to speak. So I'm going to do a little bit on these wheels here. Just to keep a little bit of, not too much, but just enough to give it some, so it's not so clean looking. Not on all the wheels. Don't want to make it look too wacky looking. Flip it over, do a little bit on this side. Like that. Okay, so off camera, since I forgot to turn it on, I used Ultimate Weathering Wash, and I put a heavy layer of it on the exhaust shrouds, let it dry really good, and then blended it in along the bottom. Then and I also put some the dark dirt I used on the inside just to make it kind of sooty looking on top of the rust color. Then once that dried, using my Tamiya panel line accent color, I just dabbed some on the top to make it look like soot on top of the rust. I didn't want just pure black, I just want a pure rust. And it actually works pretty good. I like the way it turned out. It's got kind of a sooty appearance to it. Then I put the oil stains and stuff like I was talking about, and I didn't notice, but because of the shape of this brush handle part here, stem, whatever you want to call it, you can't see it from above, but if you hold like this for a while, residual wash will accumulate and then finally drop off. And it dropped off right there. And I was like, oh no, what am I going to do? But then I thought, well, that looks fine. I'm just going to leave it because it looks just like staining of some sort. So sometimes, how did Bob Ross used to say? Happy accidents. So that was a happy accident. Wasn't happy at first, but it ended up being a happy accident. So with that, yeah. Also got the staining on the wheels. Works pretty good. I also painted the canvas cover for the canvas muzzle cover, and I just used the Panzer Gray for that. Just brushed it by paintbrush, and then I used the handy dandy Tamiya Weathering Master set, and I used light sand to kind of highlight it a bit to give it a bit of depth. So with that, all I need to do is spray this thing with a flat coat to kind of unify it a bit. And yeah, this thing's going to be done. So I'm going to end this video here, which is part 11. And when I come back next time, I'll do the final reveal, talk a little bit about the kit, what I thought of it, and all that jolly stuff. So, as always, thanks for watching Plastic Models by a Regular Dude, and part 11 of the Trumpeter 1/35 scale Tiger 1 late. If you have any questions, comments, hints, tips, blah, 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 put them in the comments section down below, and I'll answer them as quickly as I can. So until next time, I will see you all later.